Let's get into it. Arsenal already a trophy up then.
Could we be witnessing the beginning of a new era?
On the move yet again, Solis. Oh, Ødegaard seizing upon it!
For years, if you wanted to win the Premier League, there was always someone standing in your way. Ferguson, Wenger, Mourinho, Guardiola, Klopp. And for the last few years, Arsenal were the team trying to break through. Second, then second again, then second again.
They have to bring trophies next season, they know that. I think they're almost at sort of, if you like, fronting up in that respect. There's no hiding place next year.
Until last season, Mikel Arteta finally took Arsenal from chasing Manchester City to becoming champions, winning the league by 7 points and reaching the Champions League final along the way.
What does it mean to watch Arsenal do this after 22 years?
Yeah, it's been a long time, hasn't it? In a way, it doesn't feel like it because the Arsene Wenger years still feel fairly close when they won it. But brilliant, fully deserved of it. Obviously, they've had their moments in the last few seasons where they've come second. But they've been, you deserve to win it if you finish top. They've had the best defence, they haven't had the best attack. You'd probably say City have got the best attack, but as an overall unit, Mikel Arteta's done brilliantly well. And yeah, really pleased for my old club.
Now look at what happened since. Guardiola is gone. Liverpool are entering another chapter. Chelsea, United and Tottenham are all under new management. Arsenal, meanwhile, have kept Arteta, strengthened the squad, added Bruno Guimaraes, brought in Christos Solis, and then watched him produce 2 assists on his competitive debut as they beat City 3-0 to win the Community Shield.
Ødegaard's ball in, and Havertz is there, it's 2!
The champions aren't rebuilding, they're getting stronger. And perhaps that's why this season feels different.
I just feel like when you look at this Arsenal team, it's a settled team. We've got a manager that's been there for years now. Everyone knows exactly what's expected of them. When you look at the other sides that are going to be competing, obviously Man City, like we just spoke about, new manager, new players coming in there. And then you've got Iriola at Liverpool, new manager again coming in there. So I feel like I look at this and I just say, Arsenal are better equipped to go and retain the title.
Because to understand how Arsenal got themselves into this position, we have to go back to when they were still chasing everyone else.
I think we showed our level today. I think we showed that we're ready. I think we showed that we're serious, we want to do it again. And there's more trophies to go for, and that's the aim. So, yeah, we're well prepared and we're looking forward to the next one now.
For years, Arsenal were close. Not good enough to win the Premier League, but close enough to make Manchester City uncomfortable. And that distinction matters, because this wasn't a team starting from scratch. Mikel Arteta had already built Arsenal into genuine title contenders. They just kept running into the same problem. Manchester City. Second in 2022-23, second again in 2023-24, second again in 2024-25. And I think those 3 defeats tell us more about the Arsenal we have today than the trophy they eventually won. Because every title race forced Arteta and his players to learn something. They learned how to handle the pressure of leading a league. They learned how quickly a small drop in concentration could turn into dropped points. And perhaps most importantly, they learned that being good enough to challenge Manchester City was very different from being good enough to finish above them. Then, in 2025-26, Arsenal finally stopped coming second. They finished on 85 points, 7 ahead of Manchester City, ending a 22-year wait for the Premier League title. And they didn't stumble into first place at the end of the season. Arsenal spent 238 days at the top of the table, the longest anyone had spent there that season. They had finally learned how to stay there. But when I look at that title now, the thing that stands out isn't even the 7-point gap. It's how Arsenal built it. This was a team that became incredibly difficult to break down. Arsenal conceded just 27 goals in 38 matches league-wise and kept 19 clean sheets, both league-best figures. David Raya won his 3rd consecutive Golden Glove after keeping 19 clean sheets in 37 appearances. The centre-back partnership of William Saliba and Gabriel was equally important. They started together in 26 league matches, winning 17 and keeping 15 clean sheets. And this wasn't simply a defence sitting deep and hoping opponents couldn't score. Arsenal's structure was much more aggressive than that. They could press high, control territory, protect the centre, and react quickly when possession was lost. They allowed only 8.2 shots per game and 2.4 shots on target per game, both the best figures among teams in Europe's top 5 leagues. Their 0.74 expected goals conceded per game was also the 4th best single-season figure in the Premier League since Opta's advanced XG data began in 2013-14. That defensive control gave Arsenal something title contenders desperately need: consistency. They weren't just beating the big teams, they were ruthless against the teams they were expected to beat. Arsenal won 17 of their 19 matches against bottom-half opposition, taking 53 points and conceding only 6 goals in those games. And there is an interesting detail here. Arsenal scored 71 goals in the league. That's excellent, but it wasn't some Manchester City-style attacking avalanche. City scored 77. Arsenal won the title through control, defensive security, set pieces, and the ability to find enough goals to keep winning. Their set pieces were particularly effective. Arsenal scored 24 goals from dead ball situations, including a record 18 from corners, and that reliability carried into Europe.
Arsenal became the first team to win all 8 matches in the Champions League phase before eliminating Bayer Leverkusen, Sporting CP and Atletico Madrid to reach the final. They eventually met Paris Saint-Germain in Budapest, drew 1-1 after extra time and lost 4-3 on penalties. That defeat obviously hurt, but I think it also changes the mentality of this team. Arsenal now know what it feels like to win the Premier League. They also know what it feels like to come within a penalty shootout of becoming European champions. And that brings me to why I think this story is bigger than Arsenal. Because for decades, the Premier League had teams that defined what everyone else had to overcome. Under Sir Alex Ferguson, Manchester United became the standard. Then Arsene Wenger's Arsenal pushed the boundaries of what English football could look like. Jose Mourinho arrived and changed the competitive landscape again. Then came Guardiola's Manchester City, followed by Klopp's Liverpool becoming the other great force of the era. But the rule was always roughly the same. If you wanted to win the Premier League, you had to find a way past somebody. Now look at the league Arsenal are entering as champions. Pep Guardiola is gone. Manchester City have appointed Enzo Maresca, and his first competitive match ended with Arsenal beating City 3-0 in the Community Shield. Liverpool are now led by Andoni Iraola after Arne Slot's departure. Chelsea have Xabi Alonso. Manchester United have made Michael Carrick permanent after he lifted them from 7th to 3rd and back into the Champions League. Tottenham are entering their first full season under Roberto De Zerbi. 9 Premier League clubs entered 2026-27 with new managers, a joint record number. I'm not saying those clubs are finished, far from it. I'm saying they're changing. Arsenal aren't. Arteta has been in charge since December 2019, making him the longest-serving manager in the Premier League. His players already understand the system, the demands and the standards. Arsenal don't have to discover what they are anymore. They've already won the league. Now they're strengthening the champions. Bruno Guimaraes arrived from Newcastle for £75 million, adding another elite midfielder to a group that already includes Rice, Odegaard and Zubimendi. Christos Tsolis arrived from Club Brugge, and in his first competitive appearance for Arsenal, he produced 2 assists in that 3-0 win over City. And that's what makes the depth so interesting. Arsenal aren't replacing a broken team, they're adding more quality to a team that already works. They have more options in midfield, more attacking variety, and more players capable of coming into the team without forcing Arteta to abandon the principles that made them champions. Then they started the new season with another trophy. Some people will call the Community Shield a glorified friendly. Some will call it a dinner plate. That's fine. It is still a trophy, and Arsenal wanted to win it. More importantly, they now begin the season having experienced winning at the highest domestic level, European heartbreak, and another victory over City. So when I look at Arsenal going into 2026-27, I don't see a team trying to figure itself out. I see a champion that has kept its identity, strengthened its squad, and walked into a Premier League where almost everyone around it is changing.
Now comes the difficult part. Winning the Premier League is one thing, defending it is a different ballgame entirely. But if I had to pick the biggest question hanging over Arsenal right now, it would be this: can they maintain the defensive level that made them champions? Because that was the foundation of everything. Now, William Saliba is expected to miss an extended period after suffering a back injury at the World Cup. Arsenal have depth at centre-back, with Gabriel, Piero Hincapi, Christian Mosquera, Ben White and others available. But replacing Saliba isn't simply about replacing a name. His pace allows Arsenal to defend a high line while still protecting themselves against balls in behind. So, this is a genuine test. Not because Arsenal suddenly look vulnerable, but because their margin for error becomes smaller when one of the pillars of that defense is missing. And interestingly, I think the bigger opportunity for Arsenal may actually be at the other end of the pitch. They scored 71 league goals last season, which was enough to win the title, but it wasn't an overwhelming attacking total. City scored 77. Arsenal's defense gave them such a strong platform that they didn't need to turn every match into a shootout. Now Arteta has more attacking options. Christos Tsolis arrived after producing 17 goals and 23 assists for Club Brugge last season. Then there is Victor Gyökeres, Bukayo Saka, Eberechi Eze, Martin Odegaard and Gabriel Martinelli, while Bruno Guimaraes gives Arteta another elite midfielder capable of changing how Arsenal build and control games. That's where I see the frightening possibility. Arsenal don't necessarily need to reinvent themselves, they just need to become slightly better at everything they already do. More midfield control, more attacking variation, more competition for places, more options when the Champions League schedule starts piling up. And that Champions League is another problem entirely. Arsenal aren't entering Europe hoping to make the quarter-finals anymore. They were already in the final last season. That experience raises the expectation for this group, but it also makes the schedule even more demanding. Then there is the psychological side. They know what winning feels like. They also know what losing the biggest game in Europe feels like. And they have already started this season with another trophy. Maybe that's what makes this so interesting, because Arsenal spent years trying to catch the teams that defined the Premier League. Now, for the first time, they are the team everyone else has to catch.